The Grand Slam channel. We got NFL football tomorrow. I got 5 solid picks. Quick recap of today, Saturday. We went 3 of 5 on our NBA slip and 4 of 5 on our college football. We missed it on a couple of fantasy points for a perfect slip. But I do have 5 solid for NFL. And for these props, you can pick multiple. So let's get started. And my first one would be a rushing yards. And I'm going to go with A.J. Dillon. His line is at 29.5. His past 5, he has gone over. Actually, his past 7 games, he has gone over rushing yards. Pretty low for a secondary back. Should be a good game against the Chargers. Should be competitive. And I think he's going to go over 30 yards. He usually averages between 5 and 8 rushing attempts. I think he'll probably pass that and get the 30 yards and more. So I'll be taking the more on that. My next 4 will be all on fantasy scores. And first one will be Dak Prescott. And for him, there's multiple props. Obviously, I'll be taking his fantasy score in this one at 19. I think this is going to get bumped somewhere in the 20 range. His secondary option will be his passing yards. And his third option will probably be his pass and rushing reception. Touchdowns, obviously you can see his past couple of games, he has gone well over. Against Carolina, I think Dallas is going to blow him out. I think Dak Prescott's going to have a 300-yard game. So that's why I'll be taking his fantasy score. He'll probably get somewhere in the 300 yards and a couple of touchdowns. Should easily cash his fantasy score. So I'll be taking that. Next up for fantasy score, I'll be taking another Cowboy. And I'm going to go with CeeDee Lamb, top wide receiver. Obviously, if Dak Prescott has a huge game, his counterpart CeeDee Lamb will have a great game as well. Therefore, I'll be taking his fantasy score at 17.5. You can see he has a ceiling of 40. He's been getting about 100 yards in the past 6-7 games. So he should easily cash this if Dak Prescott has a good game. So these two go in tandem. Obviously, for CeeDee Lamb, if you want to take another option, will be his receiving yards as well. Next up for fantasy is George Kittle. I think a lot of people have forgotten about him. He's a key San Francisco 49er tight end who gets a lot of receiving yards. Obviously, everybody focuses on Christian McCaffrey or Travis Kelce, but George Kittle is just as good. So I'll be taking his fantasy score a bit low at 10. So I'm taking the over. Another option will be his receiving yards, but his fantasy score is pretty low. Does have a ceiling of over 30, and they are going against the Buccaneers, which I think it's going to be a competitive game. So therefore, I'll be taking Kittle. And my last one for fantasy score I'll be taking is Najee Harris. And for him, there's multiple props that I like. Obviously, for this one, I'll be taking his fantasy score, but on other slips, I'll be taking his rushing yards. His receptions is great at 1.5, and his rushing attempts at 11. I do have his receptions and his rushing attempts on other slips, the same as Dak Prescott's over passing yards and CeeDee Lamb over receiving yards. But I'll be taking his fantasy score, so hopefully I can hit this a 5-for-5 slip. But I got A.J. Dillon over rushing yards. I think he's going to go off and have over 50. And then I got the fantasy scores, Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, George Kittle, and Najee Harris all over fantasy scores. I think they're going to get bumped. Hopefully you guys get these before they do. Mix and match. Pick your favorite. Hopefully we make it a 5-for-5 slip. And I'll see you guys in the next one.